Hocking. Back to Lovett Murray. He goes short. It's a mark to Zaharakis. Zaharakis has kicked the goal. The Bombers are in front of the G.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The leaders in AFL Supercoach are incoming, helping you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight AFL Show with your hosts, Big Horse, Skiddy, and Herbie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insight AFL podcast this evening. I'm your host, the Big Horse, and as you can see, there's no Skiddy tonight. Our man, our brother, has COVID. So on behalf of the Insight crew, mate, hopefully you get well soon, mate. We know it can knock you about and knock anyone else about. So without further ado, I've got two special guests for us this evening. The first man, known as a Sydney supporter through and through, the man we know as Golden Tonsils, Bill. How are you, mate?
Right, the subs vest is off. The hammies are all stretched out. The skills are looking good in the warm-up. I'm ready to snap a bloke in half.
Yes, sir. And someone very special that we've got on tonight, the co-host of the Centre Bounce podcast, none other than Joe. Joe, how are you, brother?
I'm doing very, very well. Thanks for having me, Mick. Absolute pleasure to be here. Finally popping the cherry and getting on the potty with you. Phil, a pleasure to meet you. Mate, much love and thoughts with Skiddy in this really tough time. The Rona can absolutely knock your socks off. And my socks are currently knocked off with how our Bombers are doing, Mick. So you got me at a wonderful time.
Mate, just wait till we get to the Essendon games. Everyone will be stiff as a rock. But if you haven't yet, please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. Be a triple banger down below. But if you haven't yet, jump in our Discord. Inside Unlimited is live, and for less than 50 cents a week, you can get access to everything we do. Our captains, our insights, our trades, and a few other cool perks. If you don't want to pay, that's fine. Entry to the Discord is free, so you can just talk amongst the boys and just talk cricket, footy, NRL, and we've just started our NFL section as well. So jump in and talk all things footy. Our Unlimited League, 913351, is going to close next week. The winner of that league will receive a Supercoach Champions ring, thanks to the guys at Supercoach Champion Rings. Special shout out to Zorachilla, Coach Ryan, who is currently sitting 48th overall and is our number one man in our Unlimited League. So, Ryan, if you're watching, g'day, mate. And, mate, let's see you go for that top spot. We'd love to see it. Now, before we get into the squeeze of the week, we haven't drawn it yet, but we've got our special Insight Fantasy Sports giveaway or apparel giveaway that we're doing. So over the next 2 weeks, all you need to do is give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to get multiple entries, jump in and give us a review on AFL, NRL, NBA, NBL, and BBL. We will be drawing it before the first bounce tomorrow evening. So if you want to get in quick and get your stuff sorted there, please do that. Now, Skiddy's not here, so it doesn't feel right, but we're going to run with the squeeze of the week. Skiddy is in the chat for those of you that want to still discuss all things footy with him. He just can't talk and he's a bit crook, so he is loitering around in the background. But, Joe, have you seen our squeeze of the week before?
I have. It was a while ago, though, so I will need definitely to have a little bit of a refresher. But it's everything you guys do is absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to be a part of it, mate.
Awesome, mate. So what we're doing this week and every other week is that we throw it out to the crew. You tell us which player is going to get the highest Supercoach score. If you're the winner, you don't even have to get it bang on. If you're the closest and get the right player, you will win a $70 prize pack thanks to the guys at the Standard Squeeze. They're awesome. Phil, what's your shout out for tonight, mate? Who do you think is going to get the top score?
Top score this week. I'm going to go Ultra Pod with this. I'm going to go. I think George Hewitt from Carlton might just do something a little bit out of the box
Wow. So the sub from last week.
Against his old team. I'm
okay.
going to say they're going to pick him in the run-on side,
Yep.
and he's going to be like, right, I know this ground. I know a lot of these boys. Let's go.
Yep. How many beers you had before you jumped on, mate?
George Hewitt.
Everyone says Bont, everyone says Isaac Heaney,
Okay.
everyone says Max Gawn. I'm just bringing some flavour.
Yeah, okay. Who do you think, Joe? Or have I put you on the spot, mate?
Nah, it's for me. It's hard to go past Luke Ryan. Luke Ryan loves to play against the Saints. Out of every single team, his highest average for his career is against the Saints. He's up against the Saints this week, who are the worst at conceding points to distributors off halfback. They're playing at Marvel Stadium, so perfect conditions as well. We already know he's a beautiful user, but this is just to absolutely cement it. This guy is going 191.
Wow. So that's a question for later in the pod. Do we think he's going to crack 700K? But if he's getting those sorts of scores, he's definitely going to crack 700K. For me,
Joe's got him pushing 800K with those scores.
Yeah. I'm going Maxi Gawn. He doesn't usually play well against West Coast, but they've had, by that stage, it'll be a 9-10 day break. They'll be nicely fresh. They're playing a West Coast team. They're a bit battered and bruised at the moment, and I think he could absolutely smack the pants off the likes of Bailey Williams and whoever else they put in the ruck. So let's wait and see. Please, those of you that are watching at home, listening on all good audio platforms, put your guess in the chat or in our Discord. You've got till the first bounce tomorrow night to submit your guess. Our first lot of games are going to be brought to you tonight by the people, the guys, our friends at the Standard Squeeze who are helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. You can go to the website, thestandardsqueeze.com, and use the code IFS15 to get yourself 15% off everything in store. Now, for those of you that have been watching, no doubt you boys are keeping an eye on the comments too, but before each game, we nominate each game and a player that it's named after, and these teams are going to be playing for that particular cup. And for Thursday night, the Suns and Geelong are going to be playing in the Nathan Ablett Cup. Did anyone get that? I am not too sure. But
that's a skiddy stitch up, that is.
Joe, talk to me about the Suns, mate. How do you like their midfield in Rowell? We'll say Took Miller, the Diddley, who's Sam Flanders. To a lesser extent, Noah Anderson as well. He's been a bit down this year.
He has been a bit down. I don't know. I do like the Suns midfield, especially when they're playing in dour conditions. Playing in the, playing at home is one thing. Playing at the MCG and at Marvel Stadium is another thing entirely. So I think they're missing a bit of X factor, a bit of explosion to burst out of packs. I think sometimes not all of their mids fire off at the same time, and that causes them to unfortunately lose, for example, some battles that they really should be winning. Like, what is Rowell doing losing to Phillips last week? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing, mate? You're supposed to be the goat eating grass and doing goat things. That's not goat. That's I don't know, that's meerkat stuff. So I don't know. I want to see more. I want to see more out of the Suns mids. I think they're the ones that really should be driving the group harder.
Yeah, I think so. Phil, what do you think of Flanders, mate, in particular?
Oh, I mean, he's a sexy, sexy man, that Flanders. I think he's if Isaac Heaney wasn't having the season that he's had, going from prominent forward to blockbusting mid, then I think everyone would be talking about Flanders even more than what they are. I think he's going to be the big success story coming out of the season for Gold Coast. Yeah, for sure. So we're looking at Matt Rowell this week. Wouldn't be too worried about his quite a week last week. He will still lose cash, but he could be, for those of you that don't have him, he could be a trading target next week. If you have him, you're holding him. Flanders, he's the number one forward alongside Heaney for a reason. You're holding him, and he's there for the year. Took Miller, 602K at the moment. He was better last week. But
I'll throw this to you, Joe. If you had to choose one between Touk Miller and Matt Rowell, who would you pick?
It's a tough one. I actually own both of them currently as it stands. So
Okay.
and I brought in Rowell before Touk Miller, considering that he's going to have that glorious run playing in Darwin, but it just didn't eventuate. I do anticipate a really strong bounce back from him this week against the Cats, so who give up a lot of points to strong inside mids. So based on that matchup alone this week, I still think Matt Rowell is a better selection than Touk Miller.
Absolutely. Now we're looking at Sam Clossy, 313K. If you held him, congratulations. His break even has now almost reset. It is back down to 30. So you're holding him. Graham, who's been sat completely out of VFL and AFL action this week. If you have him, I'm still holding him. He's still got, I think it's a 10, or it might even be less break even. I think he's going to find his way back into the squad sooner rather than later. Joe and Phil, just a one-word answer. Did you blokes hold Sexton?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. I reckon if he can play well again this week, he might nearly solidify himself up until the buys there in their back six.
Yeah.
He looked good last week. Yeah.
And,
Tom Berry.
course,
sorry.
Graham's break even is 12.
There you go. Nice one. So you're holding him if you've still got him. Berry, I think he's a sell. I think his time's up. Uwu, who is Brody Hewland, he's a hold for now, but you're not looking at bringing him in. And Rogers, he's been dropped. Is that right, Joe?
He has been. It is absolute carnage on the bench. Dimmer, he giveth, but he also taketh away.
Yes, he does. Spoken like a man who reads the Bible on the daily. Now, for the Cats, Acidoxian's crew. And you know what, Phil? I don't think it'd give him any more pleasure than by you telling him how good his Cats are. And we'll start off by Maxi Holmes, 518K.
No, look, Holmes has a great role within that team. I think he's one that I deeply regret not starting the year with.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you've got him, congratulations. I don't know if I'll end up getting him into my team at any point. I've got significant issues to fix. But, yeah, no, I like him a lot.
Yep. Tommy Stewart, 501K, break even at 97. I think I might still wait a week. Purely because he's an intercept defender. He finds good spots behind the ball, but we know it gets really dewy up in Darwin.
It does.
Joe?
Yeah. He'll still take some kick-ins to bolster things up. Because he hasn't lost all his kick-ins. He's still, there's a few more cooks around in that back line eating into his, kick-in supply, which obviously has caused a bit of a drop in his overall scoring in general. But yeah, definitely one that I'm keen to trade in sooner rather than later. I don't think he's going to get much cheaper than this. He'll get a little bit cheaper, but not by too much. And I do think that he is top 6 to 8 caliber defender.
For sure. Cam Guthrie, 410K. Not yet. He needs more miles in the legs. Dempsey, if you've got him, I think it's time to sell. I think he's maxed out. Yes, he's got some job security. If you've got issues elsewhere, you can hold him. But like me this week, he's one of the two that I'm trading out. And Jai Clark, my notes keep it very simple. No. On Friday night, we see your mob, Phil, the South Melbourne Swans, taking on the Carlton Footy Club in, Corey's nailed it, the Andreas Everett Cup.
Yes.
Remember him?
Nice one. I do remember Andreas Everett. I think he may have only played the one season at Sydney from memory. I think we got him from the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that went well, didn't it?
As a sort of utility defender. He was okay without being anything great.
Yeah, right. So we're looking at, there's a few out for Carlton this week. So I got a message before saying Jack Martin is also out this week with a calf.
He is.
Cottrell is out this week as well. And there's a little bit going on at Carlton. So if the Swans are going to pounce and beat Carlton, I know Carlton match up very well against Sydney, Phil, but who's the number one player that the Swans need to beat in order to maximise their chances of winning?
It's take your pick between Charlie Curnow and Sam Walsh, but I think given that we don't have Tom McCartan, I'll give the edge to Charlie Curnow. I will wake up tomorrow at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, thinking about what Charlie Curnow may do if he gets off the chain.
Yeah, okay. That's like me and the 8,000 and something days I've had to wait for Essendon to win a final. But anyway, Walsh at 7,000. Sorry, Joe, it's a long time. Walsh, 586k, break even of 124. The highest Supercoach average versus any team for Walsh is against the Swans. I'm backing him in for a big game in this one. Cripper, 578k, break even of 129. The last 3 times he's played the Swans, he's gone 133, 78, 77. The Swans do a good job of locking him down inside. Harry, okay. He's dropping hard, so he's definitely not a top 6 forward. You could go sideways into someone like Rankin or a Zorko, who will be brought up later. Nick Newman, 527k, break even of 62. The upside is not as high this year as what it's been, but with Carlton's injuries dropping or players dropping the way they are, he could be a nice pickup in draft, but he's definitely not a top 6 back this year. Joe, do you still have Zach Williams or have you moved him on?
No, I moved them on ages ago. I don't even remember when I did. It was that long ago.
He's the hardest watching Supercoach.
He is.
He's tough.
That's why I couldn't wait to get rid of him. That's it. You're gone, Skiz Bro.
Yeah. And as per Phil's comment before, Adam Chera with a pig string, it doesn't really help anyone else apart from Hewitt. Is this where you see Hewitt going large on the inside, mate?
I think it was a smoky pick for Squeeze of the Week, but I do think Georgie will get up for this one. He's still very close with a large portion of that playing group. It wasn't that long ago that he went across to Carlton. So I think, and also given that he's sort of on the periphery of Carlton's best squad, I think this will be a really good opportunity on a ground that he's very familiar with to have to sort of remind the selection committee that he should be in the team every week.
Yeah, gotcha, mate. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Swans, your boys. You go down, you watch them train. You're all over them like a bad rash on someone that would work on a street corner in St Kilda here in Melbourne. Heaney, 631k, so he's dropped a little bit, but the last 3 against the Blues, 97, 94, 128. He's only played 1 game this year where he scored under 100, Phil, and that was a 99.
Yep.
How large do you see Heaney going in this game?
I think that Heaney's sort of settling in around those sort of 115, 120. And it really depends on who they try to match up on him. It wouldn't surprise me that much to see him and Cripper go head to head. I don't think Carlton want Walsh to be like he's too big for Walsh. So I think it's probably going to be Cripper. It could actually be Hewitt, depending on how they play it. But I'm just noticing that we are sending Heaney up forward just a little bit more, which probably is why I'm looking at that 115, 120 rather than thinking you can keep churning out 130 plus.
Yep. Grundy at 582k, he's got a break even of 87. But I've done some digging, and Pitnet actually gives him a bath each time they play against each other.
Oh, wow. That's actually a little bit surprising. He's a very strong tap ruckman. I've got to give him that. Fits in all of his flaws. He's actually quite a decent tap ruckman, and him coming into the side has been a real big, I think, influence around the Carlton Footy Club really winning the territory battle. So it is going to be really important this week. Obviously, playing at the SCG, shorter ground, territory is going to be really important. So less space. If Carlton can rack up that pressure, then you could see a lot of repeat stoppages and more hit-outs for Pitnet. Yep,
absolutely. Oh, Errol Gordon, 564k. The ceiling's just not great this year, Phil. Like you tapped on it that Heaney's probably hurt that a little bit. And what is the likelihood that we see Parker making his way in this week for someone like a Matty Roberts?
Oh, I've tried to do as much digging on this as I can. It is a genuine 50-50. I think that if we don't see him this week, we're not going to see him next week. He'll come back in round 12 after the round 12 bye. but I think that there's signs there that okay, we're at home. He's definitely confirmed he's right to go.
Okay.
But this is also a bit of clever work by John Longmire, because he's really showing a lot of commitment to the team that's been winning, rather than just bringing back a proven leader and a proven gun. So I think that's there's a lot of really positive messaging there.
Do you think if, say, a George Hewitt goes to Heaney, that they can't tag two people? Does that mean then Errol gets off the chain?
I think so, and I think Errol's very close to a 140 plus breakout, because everything he does is quality. He's just got to have that one game where he gets high 20s, low 30s possessions, and he's going to explode.
Gotcha. Scorched Misso, or Scorched Earth's Misso and Scorched Earth. You ready for this one? It is the bleached arsehole, Mr. Warner himself. Joe, you might not be aware, but he got caught taking pictures of his bleached bumhole and sent it to a lot of people. So that's why he's known as the bleached bumhole. Average of 103.2, but not for me in Supercoach.
Can I just highlight the turmoil on Joe's face with that bit of information?
He's still in shock.
Yeah, I can't believe Horse accepted that. Seriously, what has Horse done? Horse has let the Sydney Swans go awry. They're going off. They're going off the rails. That's why you lost to Richmond, isn't it? That's why the controversy.
So we'll keep touching on that for the rest of this year. Let me tell you, the frilled neck lizard filly, 515k, break even of 119. For those of you that don't know who the lizard is, it is Nick Blakey. He was huge last week. My problem is he's got a really low floor, almost like a, dare I say, Shy Bolton from Richmond type of operator. He can go really large at one end, but can really shit the bed at the other.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to take a risk, Phil, on someone that's 515k?
Not for me, not right now. But I'm also, if I've got Nick Blakey, I'm not that scared of that break even. I think he goes pretty well this week.
Okay. And for those of you that have Roberts and or Jordan, it's time to sell, ladies and gentlemen. You have made your cash out of them. They are both regressing. You get rid of them now while their price is high. Now, Saturday, our early game, we have the Collingwood Footy Club and the Adelaide Crows in, yes, Deadly, you've got one. Pickles, Corey, you've got it again. It is the Paul Seedsman Cup. Well done. Well done. Laird, he averages 126 in his last three against Collingwood, but the inclusion of Rochelle into the midfield alongside the likes of the Slug, Saligo, and Rankin, who's been playing a bit of midfield time, it has really hurt him this year, hasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more chefs in the kitchen. They're looking to try and get some more dynamic ball movement in there. And, it's been a bit hit and miss. They've even got Jordan Dawson pushing forward more, which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, Jordan Dawson's averaging, 65% CBAs for the year. Laird's only averaging 60% for the year. So it is quite surprising, but I think it is a necessary step that they need to take if they are going to keep blooding that next generation, get them taking the next step forward and really challenging for finals in the years to come. It's actually it's the right decision.
Yeah. And we just got an apology in the chat for you, Joe. Scorched Earth. Sorry, Joe. The missus loves the shout outs for Mr. Warner. So my apologies, mate. Were you aware, though, Joe and Phil, not Zach Dawson. Definitely not Zach Dawson, because he's fucking no longer playing. At 603k, he's got a break even of 107, but his last two against Collingwood, 149, 150.
He can do it again.
Can he?
Can he this year?
He can. If it's a close game, it's been close. The last two times they played is part of the reason why that score is so high. I think they lost by under a kick both times last year at Adelaide Oval and the MCG. If the Crows are close enough, he always performs in big-time moments and he gets the big-time scaling. But if it's going to be a shellacking, which I fear it might be, then he won't do it.
Yeah. Spot on.
So my question then, Joe, is, I mean, you said it yourself, there are more cooks in the kitchen for the Crows this year. And to me, is there an argument that there are actually too many of the same kind of player when you're actually diminishing the role of someone like Dawson, who should be the head and shoulders number one mid, and probably is, but isn't getting the role that he deserves?
Well, out of all of the mids, apart from Matt Crouch, who is just that in and under player who can only play in the midfield, I think he is leading ahead of Rory Laird, ahead of Saligo, ahead of Rankin. He's ahead of all those other players. But he's also just so good on the outside that he can hit the scoreboard. He can take some intercept marks behind the play. And they've used him a bit on the wing because he does have a great work ethic that he can push up and down the ground and impact from an intercepting mark perspective, and then also pushing forward and him hitting the scoreboard. He's just too good that unfortunately he can play a number of different positions, and depending on the match situation that they're in, they are happy to pull the trigger and pull the levers to put him in those locations.
It's a detriment to himself that he's so good at playing that role that his Supercoach role suffers. Yeah, you're right. Isaac Rankin, I'm really interested by this guy. I was taught, like myself, I've been suffering without Zach Butters, and with his break even as low as what it is, I have to bring him in this week. But if it wasn't for that, I'd be tossing up between Zorko and Rankin. 142 last week. If you picked him up 3 weeks ago, you'd be laughing. Can he continue his recent good form and be a top 6 forward? Phil, were you aware that he's currently ranked 5th overall for forwards now?
I was aware of that. And look, I may live to regret this. I'm not a believer in Isaac Rankin. I feel like it's fool's gold.
Okay. Joe?
I am a believer in him simply because we're seeing a higher floor from him nowadays, given the increased CBAs. And whilst the floor isn't necessarily matching what you would want in other lines, given our forward line has pretty slim pickings, I think he becomes a bit valuable there. I'm looking at trading him in next week because I have prioritized Zorko over him.
Yeah, good. The slug, Saligo, 519k. He's been awesome this year, but if you don't have him, you're not bringing him in at that price. Dan Curtin, 175k. He's on the bubble this week. He will play, but there's others that are preferred. For the Pies, Nick Dacos, 121.3 average. For those of you that traded him off when he had that round 5 bye, was it, Joe? And then he's gone boom, boom, boom. Big 100 scores the last 3 weeks. I'd hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. He was always going to bounce back. And the last time he played the Crows, 132. Joe, I'm going to ask you this one. Joe Richards. First game last week, inflated scorer playing against the Eagles, but some Pie supporters reckon he could stay in for the long haul. What do you think?
I think so as well. Obviously not a Pie supporter, but I remember watching him in the VFL, and when he was picked up by them last year, I was actually really impressed and a little bit disappointed that Collingwood picked him up, because I didn't want a good player to go to Collingwood, because stuff you, Collingwood, hope you have something stuffed up, you know what. Yeah. But unfortunately, he went there, and
get it on, Joe.
I was surprised he didn't get a gig last year, considering they picked up Bobby Hill. It made sense. But for this year, with some injuries around, he's finally got the opportunity, and he is a smooth operator. I do see him keeping his spot in the side ahead of a Sullivan type. So he's my downgrade target for next week.
Beautiful, mate. Yep. And speaking of Sullivan, 102k on the bubble. I only need 2 or 3 weeks out of him, and I've got my 150 to 200k that I need out of him. Phil, you going with Sullivan this week?
Yeah, 100%. That looks too juicy to ignore.
Absolutely. The brother of Jack McRae, 93 last week, 3 goals. He has done next to Sweet FA the whole year, apart from this game against West Coast, so we're not touching him. Jack Crisp, I see this as a smoky pick. He's still in the 400Ks, 134 last week. But he is the main beneficiary of the likes of DeGoey and Mitchell being out at the moment, and this role will not stick. So for me, this is fool's gold alongside Scott Pendlebury. Scott Pendlebury is probably coming up to game 600 with the amount of games that he's played. He's scored 147 last week. We know he's silky, but at that age and the way that Collingwood are just building, they're happy to rest players, they're happy to move people around. He might score like this for another round, and then he'll go back to his 80s, 90s, and not be that top primo mid. As you can see, Joe, there's a bit going on in the chat, mate. We'll address that at the end.
But Horse, you've missed the most important thing about Scott Pendlebury.
Tell me.
Did you know he used to play basketball?
Fun fact, played against him. He played for Sale when I was playing at Bairnsdale, mate. And he was quite good at basketball too. Yes. His brother, though, was it Ryan Critter, was better than him growing up.
Wow.
Yep. And his younger brother plays, I think his younger brother's playing up Euroa way now. But he's also a fantastic footballer and a fantastic bloke as well. Now, 4:35 in Canberra or at NG Stadium. Is that in Canberra, Phil?
No, that one's in.
Or was that in Sydney? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's in Sydney. Manuka Oval, still Manuka Oval.
I think Corey's been looking at our notes because we've got the Boyd's kicked a goal. Boyd's kicked a goal. Fuck. Cup.
Oh, he's dropped the magic.
Yeah, he's dropped the magic word. It is the Tom Boyd Cup for those of you playing at home. For the Giants, Tom Green, 528k, break even of 180. You're not bringing him in this week if you don't have him, but I'm getting a bit in the chat. If you don't have him, then you're not bringing him in this week. But at 180k, if he scores 100 to 110, he could nearly drop to under 500k, Joe.
Which is all because of that injured 5. Obviously, I own the guy. I started him this year. And because of that, it doesn't really look to be the most optimal starting selection now in hindsight. But I love him. And he's a warrior. The fact that he had that ankle and came back and performed the way he did against us, he just didn't have enough support around him in that midfield. So on your TG, you're an absolute machine, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a shared pain, Joe. I picked him from the start as well, and
same.
I'm just waiting for him to pull out a 240 or something. Just repay the faith, son.
Whitfield, 514k, break even of 139. He's got 3 straight tons against the Dogs. He could really get off the chain with no Lockie Ash in this game. Joe?
Finally, thank God I own him. I was a little bit nervous when we sent Guelph to him.
Yeah.
Guelph did a good job nullifying his influence on the game, but allowing him to turn up against us. Guelphy, you are killing it on all fronts, my friend.
We'll get to Essendon, mate. We'll get to Essendon. Cogs is back, 524k, but no. Briggs, 470k. I know Skiddy's a big fan of Briggs and he's a watch. For me, he's not a top ruckman this year, and if you've got him, I would move him on. Young Jones in the forward line with the headgear. He wasn't great last week, but Essendon nullified his influence something fierce. If you held him or if you picked him up, just hold him. He will be better this week. Cadman,
just to add to that with Jones, do not drop him. Do not drop him. Do not drop him this week.
Good. Mate, Cadman.
Get that garbage out of here!
Jacob Ware.
Get that garbage out of here!
Harvey Thomas.
Get that garbage out of here!
Gonna throw a spanner in the works for one of those, Horse. I reckon if you've got Jacob Weir, unless you've got absolutely no other issues in your team, just watch what happens with him, because there's a flow-on effect with James Kelly being out. The primary beneficiary is going to be Finn Callaghan, and we know that Finn Callahan's building to be, a true premium midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
But Weir is one who him and Xavier O'Halloran, that may be looking at an increased role in what used to be partly Callahan's role with Kelly in the team. So sometimes, and you both know this, you've got to look at not only who is the primary beneficiary, but who moves into the role that's held by the person who is the primary beneficiary.
Do you think James Peatling comes in for Kelly and plays a midfield role?
he's definitely one who could. My concern is that Peatling in the game where he blew up against Sydney, he stepped a little bit more into Tom Green's inside role. And so I can't say that he's a like for like for Kelly. We're at the price that he's in. I just wouldn't feel like this is the week to drop him if you've got him.
So if you've got him, you're holding, Phil?
Yeah.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yep. Okay. Bont, 640K and pretty cheap. Break even of 84. I don't think he's going to get this cheap for the rest of the year. 3 tons, in the last 3 against the Giants, including a 164 last year, Joe. Do you have him?
Started him. Nope, don't regret it. The great man himself. If you haven't got him somehow, get him in your team.
So you started with Tom Green. You started with Bont. You've got Lockie Whitfield.
I do.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
We always were.
I've got.
We always were.
That's right.
This just solidifies it.
Absolutely. Trelaw, 610K. Way too expensive with hamstrings like drumsticks. Not touching him. But when Libba doesn't play, he plays quite well and can really rack up a score. English, 616K, break even of 129. 163 the last time he played against Kieran Briggs. Daily Bale. Yes, I know it's Bailey Dale, but it's Daily Bale. 554K already. 96 break even. He's been awesome. The last time he played against the Giants, Phil, 139. Now,
I like that as a new owner from 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Now, here's one I'm keeping an eye out for, Joe. Ed Richards. 477K. He's getting massive CBAs and a huge boost without Libba. Is he too expensive to gamble on?
I reckon. How does Libba come back? Seriously, like,
I know.
If he comes back somehow, geez, there's no way the AFL will allow that to happen with all of the lawsuits flying their way. There's just no way they let him come back, especially at that age and how many he's copped. So I do think Libba's gone. Richards, I'd be all in on him if he didn't show me the other week that despite having 92% CBAs, he still scored pretty poorly. If that didn't happen, I'd be all in on Richards at this point. But he beat up on a weak team last week, unfortunately, against the Richmond Tigers, who have more injured players than fit players.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about GWS and Western Bulldogs at the moment, but Joe, there is no lid. Lagged ons. Sorry,
three hosts and not a lid among us.
Yeah, I don't know about your VFL side, mate. But anyway, Jack McRae.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
I don't think he's a top 6 forward. Joe?
Neither.
Phil?
3 for 3, no way.
There we go. Sam Darcy, though, he looked a lot better last week. Break even of 36. He's like 6'100". If you have him, continue to hold because he's going to make a lot of cash for you. Yes, he's been up and down, but he can pump out some nice scores. Harms.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
And what I mean by that is he was good last week, but he's mostly shit. Joe, You're not taking the plunge, are you?
Nah, I don't work in sewage. I think it's important that someone does, but that's not going to be me.
Yeah. Phil?
Yeah, never had him. Never really been on my radar. Do you still own him, Horse? I know you started the year with him.
I didn't. I ended up trading him out.
Didn't? Oh, there you go.
Didn't have him. Garcia, 238K. He's still got a break even of -14. So for those of you that picked him up, nice. He will stay in the side until Waitman returns. And Frazier, the fridge, whatever you want to call him, 117K in his first game. He looked okay, but don't go early. We've got another look this week at 117K, and then we can see what's going on there. Now, this week, I know this has been said already. Corey's 4 for 4, is he? It's the Zach Dawson Cup. It's the Saints versus Freo. He is going to be up and about, isn't he, the man?
The ladies' man. He's on fire. He's on fire. He's a smart man, Causa.
He's unbelievable. So we'll start with Jack Steele. These rumours, Joe, of his knee flaring up again. What do you see of it?
Nah, he's fine. He's A-okay. There were some from people that I talked to that
Yep.
told me that he went and got some work done on his knee a couple of weeks ago, and they told me that he was going to be out of the strapping last week, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So he's fine. I wouldn't be entirely concerned. He's been managing that knee, of course. Obviously, you don't have strapping on it if it was 100%, but everyone's carrying a niggle here or there. He'll still be fine to hold.
Yep. I'm going to ask you about this one too then. Rowan Marshall, 525K. He's got a break even of 28. Is he back? Because he was hurt for a few weeks. So he got like 360s in a row and then he just pops out. I understand it was a very heavy stoppage game against Hawthorn last week, but is he back?
I really wish not, because I traded him out to field Sweet at R2. So him popping off is very much a punch in the gut for me. He's very gutting. I think he's still going to be prone to some fluctuating scores, because I think Hayes is going to be in the team to stay, and he's pinch hitting in the ruck with him, and he will be all right, but he's not going to be top 2 ruck. It's English and Gawn.
Yeah, for sure. Get your wangs out. We're talking Isaiah Wanganeen Malera, 497K, break even at 55. For me, he's a good player, but he needs to find consistency, and I think he's still a year away from being that consistent top 6 back. Jack Sinclair, he's been real different this year, hasn't he, Phil? 548K, break even of 95. He'll probably get his break even, but he's definitely not a top 6 back with what he's been doing.
No, I'm personally still not clear on what his role is in that team at the moment.
He's playing mid. He's
all over the place, isn't he? 70%
CBAs.
Yeah, he does look like he's playing a genuine mid, but it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Darcy Wilson, for those of you that have him, 385K for the rookie that started the year at 130K. He has a break even of 3. That is all. He is going to make great coins still. He could make us another 100K here. So very happy with that. For Freo, your man Joe, Luke Ryan, break even of 71. He is the Devil's number, 666K. With your 192, he will get to 700K.
Oh, yeah. VC him with your eyes closed, because the way he scores is the single most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Just pigs it up, junk time disposals, side to side, and then long down the line. It is absolutely disgusting. Meanwhile, Zach Merritt busts his gut, 30 disposals, 3 goals, and barely cracks 120. So, yeah, Luke Ryan to the moon.
Do you know
Joe,
what the difference is?
Just on that, Joe.
Okay,
Luke Ryan was the least threatening person on the field last week.
Yep.
I have no idea. Even with the unicorn point factor coming into play, how he scored what he scored in that fourth quarter, like that tells me, if I'm the one that writes the algorithm that comes up with that score for that kind of output, I'm like, no, we got this wrong. Let's tear it down and start again.
Correct. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Corey, in the chat, you've got 2 in for the next cut, mate. You need to pick one. Luke Jackson, break even of 95. He will be the sole ruckman again this week with Darcy ruled out. I'm one that held Luke Jackson. Have you ever had him, Joe?
I have not. He's a great player in real life, but it just doesn't translate into Supercoach scores, and for that reason, I've never owned him.
Phil?
Yeah, he's been in my team all year, and he's sort of done just enough for me not to hate him for it, but like I wouldn't invite him to Christmas.
He's coming to your place for Christmas, mate. Come on, mate. Yeah. No, here's a touchy one amongst the Supercoach community, mate. Nate 5. So 399K. He's had a down 2 weeks. So he was 6 frees against last week and had a down week. The week before that, he was sub. So he's done sweet FA the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Break even of 150. I've got him and I'm holding. Joe, what are you doing?
I don't own him, but if I did own him, I would also hold him.
Absolutely. He's one of the very few under 400K that have higher than 60% CBAs. So that, for me, translates into Supercoach points. You get contested possessions, you get clearances, you follow the ball around the ground. There is points to be scored through Nate Fyfe. I'm holding him now because I believe he can still punch out my 80s and 90s in the forward line, and that I can flip him after the bye. Phil, do you have him?
Yeah, had him all year, and much like yourself, I've just sort of looked at it and gone, I don't see the value in trading him in, even with the high break even.
Yep.
Still had 86% CBAs on the weekend, and you could tell that he was not in a position to play. Probably shouldn't have played.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have played, given how emotionally turbulent it was before the game started. But, kudos to him. It takes a tough man to play through that sort of adversity.
Absolutely,
yeah,
mate.
100%. And I mean, it doesn't really matter what sort of pressure the opposition are putting on you when Nat Fyfe is getting done for holding the ball 4 times in the first half. It's like, okay, you're not focused on footy.
No.
Yeah.
Hayden Young, 528k, bit of a yo-yo this year. Break even of 106. He's there, but he's not really there. Caleb Sarong, 668k. This guy's absolutely taken the PI 55 out of Supercoach. He's a gun, and you need to have him. I don't have him, and I'm going to get him.
Finally got him in this week.
Smart. I've had to go Butters this week, and it's Caleb Sarong hopefully next week if he doesn't pick it up. Jordan Clark, he got tagged last week, but he will be better for those of you that have him. One thing that we are going to bring up, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we finish speaking about the Freo game this year, is that we're going to bring up that it is okay not to be okay, and that it is okay to speak if you're feeling down or feeling emotionally distraught. So for those of you that are in our community, in our Discord, my DMs are always open, like these guys as well, like Skiddy and everyone else. So it isn't weak to speak. And if you need someone to talk to, please do. On Saturday night, we have Brisbane and the Tigers. I can't believe this, mate. And he's a friend of mine. The Luke McGuan Cup. Corey's gone 5 for 6. I can't believe it. What is going on with this?
I'm going to look in this group, in this Discord, in this Word document. Are we sure that Cause is not in here?
Yeah,
Seriously.
I know. It's like he's got a copy of the notes. It's unbelievable. And some of these are really left field. For the Lions.
He's dead set taking annual leave to look into this, and it's paying off. It's paying off deluxe.
Oh, mate. And Ian's stoked because he finally got one. Good on you, Ian. For the Lions, Dunkley, 628k, break even of 105. He is Brisbane's number 1 mid. Joe, is he a top 8 mid this year?
I think not.
Big call. Phil.
Because...
Oh, yeah, give us your because.
Because even when he was playing full-time mid in our forward lines, if you look at his career averages, he's never really averaged, that 115, 120 that you want to be in your top 8s. So it is a little bit of an argument from silence here, seeing as he's never done it before, that he's guaranteed not to do it again this year. But I think he's still a wonderful selection at that price with the run, especially this week. He's got a ripping matchup against the Walking Dead, really, are the Tigers. So he's going to go crazy this week. I have no doubt about it.
Phil?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way, and in doing so, I'm going to shout out the man that it takes 2 co-hosts to replace in Jake Skiddy Skidmore, because I have his voice ringing in my ear saying, well, he averaged 120 after the first, was it 2 rounds last year?
Yep.
So for me, he's still the same player, and I think he'll get into the top 8 for the year at the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you guess the next game, the first person to guess the name of the next game, I will personally send you a gift thanks to the guys at the Standard Squeeze. You get one guess only. Lockie Neal, 586k, break even of 86. Fuck, he's been inconsistent this year, hasn't he, Joe?
He has been. It's really weird. I don't know. Lockie, is it the age is it the age thing that's potentially causing him? But he definitely copped a lot of negative attention from Cal Ward, I think it was, when they played against the Giants. And in that week, it was finally allowed Tom Green to go bananas because Tom Green needs to be, attacking the football, not playing defensive. So, I think Neil learnt a lot from that game. I don't think we're going to see another one from him like that again.
Phil?
I'm gonna say that the reason for his downturn this year is because he's running out for every game, going, I can't believe they gave me that Brownlow either.
Yeah.
True.
That's
that was
terrible,
surprising. That was Bond was robbed.
Yeah, I think he's playing hurt. I think he's got a massive ankle injury that he's getting a jab for before each game, and that he's hanging out for the mid-season bye. Probably the biggest talking point in the Supercoach community this week, Joe and Phil, Dane Zorko. Yeah. So 566K, he's got a break even of 45. He's probably going to be the most bought-in player this week. For me, I'm going against the crowd, and I am not bringing him in.
Why?
Joe, why?
Why?
Hamstrings. He's a 35-year-old senior player for Brisbane. They're running out of legs. They don't have anyone to play that specific role that he's playing. So I understand that he's got to buy in 3 weeks' time, but you think of the likes of Kitty Coleman, Daniel Rich in the past, that played the role in Brisbane. So there was Drummond, there was Rich, there was Kitty Coleman. They've never really gotten through a full season without getting hurt with the way the short, sharp sprints off halfback, the rebounding capacity that they need to get the ball up the ground. They look to run and carry and generate scoring opportunities. As a 35-year-old man who's had not just one hamstring in the past, but multiple hamstring injuries in the past, I think it's a risk that, like, my Supercoach team's been riddled with injuries as it is, so I can't afford to bring in someone that I don't trust. But I think he's an injury risk.
He is an injury risk for sure, but I'm willing to bet on it simply because my team is in shambles. I need to get someone who's going to score absolutely ridiculously well if he's fit and healthy. He's got the Tigers this week at home. He is going to absolutely waltz through them. The only concern I've got is that he might be subbed off at 3/4 time with them being 65 points in front.
Is that after the first quarter?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But by that point in time, he would have done all the damage that he needs to do. He's played 20 games last year. He played 22 games before that, 23 games before that. So he's he obviously has a history, but, that magic acupuncture could finally be doing something for him this year.
Is that from the Heidelberg Dorovich's clinic or a different acupuncture?
Well, that's only a 1 week thing at Dorovich. This one's 1 week at a time. He's there every week by the look of things.
Harrison Andrews, 510K. Don't trust any key back for me. And Phil, I want to ask you about Hugh McCluggage, 550K, break even of 74. He's found some real consistency in the past 4 weeks after an up and down start of the season.
Yeah, he really has. And look, I'd say pretty clearly, I like him more than I like Dane Zorko. I'm right with you on that one for what it's worth, Horse. I feel like I've seen that movie before. Everyone gets on, he pings a hammy, everyone trades him out.
Hey, Joe, question. Dane Zorko, James Sicily, walk into a room. Who are you buying a beer for first?
Myself. Neither of those flops deserve my money.
Tell us how you really feel, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. They're buying themselves everything. You know what? I won't even sign anything for them. For the Tigers, there's not really much to talk about with the Tigers this year. They've become quite Supercoach irrelevant. So when you're talking about someone by the name of Nick Vlastuin, who is the top-ranked Richmond player this year at 523K, goes to show that they're not really scoring that well. And I don't trust him either, Joe.
I don't trust anyone from Richmond.
No.
Plain and simple.
No. Kane McAuliffe, do you think he comes in, Phil?
Well, based on you talking him up in the preseason, I certainly hope he does.
Yeah. They've got no one else at the moment, do they?
Yeah. Well, look, no, they're a quality team, the Richmond Tigers. I think we all know that from the the one game that they turned up for, which happened to be against my boys. But yeah, they are certainly stretching the limits of their list, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Shy Bolton, he's interesting. He went bang, bang, bang rounds. Was it 4, 5, and 6? Went multiple, like 100, 100, 100. And then he has absolutely shit the bed. Back to 459K. Break even of 166. If I told you, Joe, that in 2 weeks' time, Bolton could be under 400K, does that appeal to you at all when they get the likes of Taranto, Lynch, these sorts of players back in the team?
No, he's never going to be in my team.
Never.
I'm not going to pick him in my team. He's just way too hit or miss. He's a prodigious talent. Don't get me wrong. But he's a pocket rocket that is capable of doing some wonderful things, but he just does not have the consistency. And I know for sure in a bye round, he's going to score a 20 and just kill me in a best 18 or in a best 20, whatever round it might be. He will just do something stupid. And no, I'm not going to pick him. He's not for me. I can see the appeal, but he's not for me personally.
Yep. Phil?
I'm going to go one further than you, Horse, and I'm going to say that in 3 weeks' time, he'll be the number one player traded in the whole of Supercoach.
Wow. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing better than seeing... Phil, I've got to throw this to you, mate. The only thing that's better than seeing Richmond beat Sydney at the MCG, as decimated as they were, is the Inside Fantasy Sports Supercoach World Cup. If you ever thought you're elite at Supercoach, well, now you can prove it with our year-round Inside Fantasy Sports Supercoach World Cup, featuring all 4 sports in NRL, AFL, NBL, and BBL. It is $20 to join before round 12, and that's when we're cutting it off. Your ranking, will be calculated together, and the best performer over the 4 sports combined will take out the best Supercoach player in the world, not just Australia, in the world. Join our Discord to find out more and register. So just by looking through the chat, we've got no one that's picked this next game, Joe. So we're talking about the Essendon Footy Club. I'm going to let you do the honours for this one, mate. We've got the Essendon Footy Club and the North Melbourne Kangaroos in what cup, mate?
The Shane Harvey Cup, ladies and gentlemen. Come on down.
Absolutely.
And watch the Bombers go absolutely bananas this week.
We talk about the better Harvey that played for the Essendon Footy Club as well as the North Melbourne Footy Club. Yes, we're not talking about Brent. We're talking about his brother Shane. No one picked that. Yes, sir. Corey, you missed that one, mate.
And he's a North supporter as well. Poor Pauser.
Yeah, he's done well tonight, though. I'll definitely give him that.
That is a true deep cut. I'm actually really impressed that Skiddy's pulled out Shane Harvey.
He's done well, hasn't
he? Of his footy memory.
Now, Joe, I'm going to give you the honours tonight of talking about Essendon because each week I talk about the Flag Dons and I slowly come more and more around and I try to keep the lid on. But this week I saw the Dons at $21 and I'm like, there is no way that I can get any more guaranteed money than by putting $25 on the Dons at $21 to win some money back. The lid is officially off.
It's off. I started my video on the Sunday night with a pot and I lifted the lid off and I've declared that we are playing finals this year. It's happening. Just forgive yourselves if you bet against us.
Yeah.
And if you bet against Nick Martin as well, shame on you. This guy is an absolute superstar legend. A lot of people in the community have been talking about him moving to halfback. He's got the role, still playing the role. 130 break even for the 589K mid defender. So it's a pretty high break even. It's up against North Melbourne. Do we even know if he's going to get much of the ball at halfback with how strong we're playing? I don't even know. Sharing the ball with Redmond off halfback, and he's lost all his kick-ins is the one big downside last week. He took off all his kick-ins. It was all Andy McGrath essentially taking the vast bulk of them, which is not too bad because, you know, Andy McGrath, to his credit, has worked on his kicking a lot this year, and he's actually not been that bad.
No, you're absolutely right. And we see the love for Sam Durham in the chat, mate. Sorry to pass over you, Phil, but There's no,
All right.
you know, I never get the chance to talk to a fellow Essendon supporter on here because Skiddy won't let me. But Sam Durham, you see the love in the chat. Build the man a statue. That man, alongside the likes of Jai Caldwell and I'll think of the other kid's name, Archie Perkins.
Yes.
They've been really
Even
good this year.
Even Nick Cox has been doing some
Cox
good
has
things.
been better. Yep.
You know, so given a defined role, but yeah, have you seen a bigger explosion in the fulfillment of talent than you've seen from what Sammy Durham has done? I'm seeing pictures of him in the preseason, and he's like doubled in size, whilst also smashing out all of the endurance running. He's won both time trials ahead of Mason Redmond, who no one used to be able to touch. And we're seeing it translate to him on the field. He's so important for us. He is the Essendon Edge. They talk about Essendon Edge. It is Sam Durham. Literally, it's this kid. And you saw what we were like without him against Port Adelaide. We got destroyed by 70 points. You tell him, Triple B, Big Baller Brand, Sam Durham, mate, 438K, it is a bit too expensive for my liking, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we can enjoy watching him as fans from the sidelines without needing to own him because, my word, he is a wrecking ball in there.
Absolutely, he is alongside Jai Caldwell, 482K. He's got a break even of 126, given that he was subbed out last week, the week before with that calf. It could be obtainable in a few weeks if you're looking for a sneaky pod for your forward line. Zach Merritt. So I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, mate, and feel free to rebut this if you like. I know you're a big Essendon man, but he's perhaps alongside Isaac Heaney my pick for the Brownlow this year so far.
I was thinking during the pre-season that it could be Darcy Parish who could give the Brownlow a shake, but yeah, obviously that didn't work out with him not playing early. But yeah, Zach Merritt, I think he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves from around the competition, and it all comes from us being able to win more games. It's amazing what winning games does for your reputation as a footballer, and he's been absolutely incredible, hitting the scoreboard more than he ever has before. He's got a break even of 137. Guys and girls, if you're watching, do not fear that break even. Yeah, I think was he like on 80 odd points at quarter time?
He was on 85 at quarter time last year against North Melbourne.
He's not getting tagged this year, guys. Clarko does not tag in the midfield, so get Zach Merritt on. He's going to be my captain for what it's worth. I'm going to enjoy watching him live on Sunday. Can't wait.
There's a reason why I haven't brought up Nick Hind in the chat or in our notes, because even though he scored a 100 and whatever it was last week, if you pick him, I will not be happy because he is the cone. He's the original cone. Skiddy said it first. He's shit. Do not pick him. He will single-handedly cost you any form of wins, any form of decent score that you decide that you want in your Supercoach side. Just don't pick him. Now, Jonas the Goat asks, I'm going to ask you this because I know you don't have a lot of time with us tonight, mate. Will Setterfield's toe, even if it's fine, I don't see him getting back in with the way these boys are playing at the moment.
He doesn't even have a toe. Jonas loves to rib me on the centre bounce when it comes to, because I started Setter Goat last year in Supercoach.
So did I.
It was a wonderful selection, and Jonas loves to rip into me because Jonas is a Carlton man, and of course they offloaded him. So he loves to give me shtick every time we mention Setter Goat. So it's a knee problem at the moment, and yeah, with this current midfield mix as it currently stands, he's not in our best 22. Not even Dylan Shield is breaking into this team at the moment.
Mate,
or Elijah Sardis, which is shocking to me.
Do you know what you can give him shit for? They have Orazio Fantasia. He's shit.
Joe, you mentioned a name there. I was actually going to throw this question to both of you without notice, but you mentioned his name. Sardis. Where is he? Because I, as a non-Bombers supporter, when I've watched Bombers games and I've seen him, this kid looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like, is he banged up or what's going on? Because how he's not getting a run at the moment.
Joe, I think I could answer this, and feel free to jump in if you like, mate. But for Sardis, his biggest asset is finding the ball. His biggest letdown is his ball use. As soon as he cleans up his ball use, he will be a top tier mid. But right now, he
Right.
still rushes his kicks a little bit. We've seen Dersma. He kicks them a bit floaty as well. But Dersma's running ability and his defensive pressure and his size on the wing is part of why we're as good defensively as what we are. Zardes, as soon as he cleans up his ball use, he'll be elite.
100%. This kid, so much enthusiasm about him, and you even saw glimpses of it last year. He can even win the contested ball. He had like 31 disposals and 11 clearances in the VFL last week. So he is absolutely torching it. And when he gets the ball, those first few steps away from the congestion is just lightning quick, unreal. When he cleans up that kick, uses the speed to use that separation to then slow down and lower the eyes. It's a tough skill to learn. He had his whole kicking routine essentially reworked by David Rath, who's come to the side as like a kicking mechanics coach at the Bombers. He's doing a metric crap ton of work in getting that.
You can swear.
fixed.
It's okay.
Okay, good. Metric shit ton of work. And it's going to work. It's going to pay off. He's going to win a Brownlow one day, Elijah Siders.
Mate, if you've seen Skiddy's Cone of the Week spiels that he goes on, I think saying that word, you're pretty safe. For North Melbourne, Colby McKercher, we did see earlier in the chat that people are asking whether he is out or not. He's out. He has foot soreness. He's gone in for scans. There's a hot spot on his foot, and it may be more than a week. I'm not an owner, but if I was an owner, I'd be holding him this week because you just don't know what the result of the scans are. But if he's missing more than next week, I feel like you're going to need to move him on.
So full disclosure, okay, so Joe and I are both McKercher owners. I feel like, and Joe, I really hope we don't share this as well. I had him, I traded him out, I swallowed my pride, I brought him back in. I am now going on record to say I am too damn stubborn to trade him out again. I'm going down with the ship.
Yeah.
If I had better rookies on my bench, I would be holding him as well. But I just don't have great fieldable options on my bench as it currently stands, with Graham being dropped and now Rogers being dropped. And I mean, Rogers was even when I wanted to field anyway. Like, my bench is so deprived of great scoring options that I feel like I've got no choice, and they're not going to rush him back. They've got their bye coming up in 3 weeks' time. If it's anything like the injury that Errol Goulden had last year, which was also a hot spot in his foot, I'm pretty sure you would obviously remember that, Phil. He missed 6. One of them was the bye, but that's 5 weeks, and they're not going to win anything this year.
They're not going to risk it. No,
this year they're not going to risk him. So on the balance, I just feel like I don't want to wait to hear the bad news later. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and waste another trade on him.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention Zach Reid when we're talking about the Essendon Footy Club. So last week in the VFL, he had 26 touches, 10 marks, looked unbelievable as per the coaching staff and their words, not mine, their words. I think he's a chance to come back in this week. Obviously, teams haven't been picked yet, but I think against a team like North Melbourne, where they're not as explosive and dangerous up forward as other teams, I think this could be a good week to get him in, get a feel for footy, get him through a full game of AFL footy, get him comfortable at the level, and then watch him go crazy. Joe, agree or disagree?
I think that we're not going to rush him in this week. I agree, considering his long injury history.
Yep.
We've also got one Jordan Ridley. I don't know if you guys know this guy exists or not, but Jordan Ridley, the famous golfer out of Tullamarine. Yeah, he's picked up the boots and realized that he can kick on his right foot again, because that quad injury is good and ready to go. He could be back next week as well. So, mate, it's going to be a reshaped backline for us if both Reid and Ridley can come back into that backline. No one can kick goals on us anymore now.
That's great, isn't it? May as well just call us the fucking soccer goalkeepers, mate. No one's kicking goals. Harry Sheasel, does he go back now that McKercher is out? Break even of 168. What I envision happening, Skiddy, who will be in our Discord, will keep everyone up to date with this. But my opinion of this is that Sheasel goes back, Tom Powell goes back into the midfield, and they'll run a lineup with Powell, LDU, Simpkin, Will Phillips?
Yep.
Keep Sheasel down back with Zach Fisher. And that's the way it'll run this week. I think having Colby McKercher out, they were purely playing McKercher in that role just to push him along like they did with Sheasel last year. We know that Sheasel plays that role well. His ball use out of D50 is elite. He sets the team up a lot better. The expedition into the mids hasn't worked yet. They've got midfielders that can play midfield. I think he's going back.
It's most
Yeah,
likely.
I mean, he's got so much. He's got the runs on the board in terms of being like truly excellent in that role.
Yeah.
To your point earlier, they're not winning anything this year. So
Sorry, I forgot Wardlaw as well in the midfield. So they've got enough depth through the midfield at North Melbourne to cover that.
yeah,
But no real outside class to kick the ball inside 50 to Larky, who needs players on, needs nice kicks to him on a lead, for example. I don't know. It's a tough one. I do think he'll go to halfback more likely than not, where he will cop Harry Sheasel. Where he'll cap Matt Guelphy, I mean. He'll cop a Matt Guelphy tag. We saw what he did to Lockie Whitfield last week. We're seeing, the Swans. Horse Longmire was all over it. Sent James Jordan straight to Whitfield as well. And when you can cut off these distributors and runners off half back, that goes a long way to causing front half turnovers. So I wouldn't. I would be shocked if Brad Scott doesn't send Guelphy to Sheasel this week.
If Essendon kick 26 goals, 25 points, and he gets 25 kickouts, I'll be doing fist pumps galore. We're going to push through these ones pretty quick. Tristan Exeri, 567K. If he learns how to tap it to a teammate, he could be an elite ruckman in years to come for the North Melbourne Footy Club. I think North have a good ruckman there, but he needs to learn to tap to advantage. The Catalina Winemaxer. Pow, pow! Back into the mids this week if Sheasgold goes back? Yes. So if you have him, you're holding him this week. And Zach Fisher. I am not a fan. I brought up a stat in our Discord today that he scored 140 last week. Outside of the 140, he's gone once over 100. He scored 101, I think it was round 2. Outside of that, in the other 7 games that he's played, his average is 66. Are you coughing up less than 400K? I know he's got a break even of minus 16, but he's coughing up 400K for someone that could go 60 or 70 this week. Phil first.
No, not at all. And I think that's actually that's one of the major reasons why Sheasel goes back, because you can't be competitive with Fisher as your primary link man.
Yeah. Joe?
He's taken 15 kick-ins in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott has been moved to a wing. Sheasel was moved to a midfield. It's not quite the same backline mix that the season started off with. He's been given more of a license now back there, more freedom to play his role the last couple of weeks after he was the sub. So I think there's been some changes which favour him. If Sheasel was back there, he's going to be the primary ball user ahead of him, but he'll still get his share of kick-ins, which I think raises his floor enough to be okay, to be viable at that price point in the forward line.
Gotcha. I'm just going to bring this up. Normally we don't bring up questions or comments till the end, but I can see a North Melbourne upset. Thoughts, lads? Ian, how much have you had to drink, and are you okay?
I can see a North Melbourne upset. You might also want to drop by Specsavers or OPSM as well on the way past.
Yep,
No, you've got it wrong, boys. I think what's happened there is he's just made a bit of a typo. I can see a lot of North fans being upset because we still haven't won a game this year.
Gotcha. Well done. Good. I like that, Phil. Now, ladies and gentlemen, home loans. Are you wanting to buy that first home loan or even better, or even an investment property, and don't know how? Or are you a current owner with an interest rate above 6.2%? Well, Ryan can guarantee you that there are better options for you. And the best part is he will do it for free for you. Reach out to Ryan. His link tree is down below in the description. Tree's in the chat. And you can also give him a call on 0431 766 784 and tell him the Insight guys sent you. Now, on Sunday. No one's got this either. No. We've got Port Adelaide and the Hawthorn Footy Club for the one, the only Stewie fucking Jew Cup. Have a look at him. The man who single-handedly turned that grand final on its head.
Yeah.
For the power. Zach Butters, 621k, break even of 82. This is why I got him. This is probably as cheap as we're going to see him all year. And I think he's going to go large. Joe?
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. Go
Phil?
for it. Full send.
Yeah.
I love Zach Butters. He's one of my favourite non-Swans players. Across the three of us, do we agree that at the moment the big three for the Brownlow this year are Heaney, Merritt and Butters?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so.
yes, and yes. Sorry, I've been mistaken. Ahmed Frog, I've gone back through the chat and you did get it. Congratulations, mate. Dan Houston, 581k, break even of 149. He's been a little bit down the last couple of weeks, but he will bounce back. This next one hurts me because I've been holding him. Connor Rozee, 521k, break even of 153. If you don't have him, you wait a week after he plays because he could go into the 400s. And if you see Connor Rozee at 400 and something, we saw with that game where he went 150s, he's there for the taking. Do you have him, Joe?
I do not own him, no.
Someone that you're looking at potentially at that price?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Phil?
Horse, have you I'm not a Rozee owner, but I'm just wondering, considering you had Rozee before the injury, have you considered applying to Ken Hinkley for compensation?
I wish. Fuck that. That
It's
annoyed
also
me.
his fault too. He should have pulled himself out. He should have known.
Yeah.
I'm not
He's
right
the
to play.
He's the captain of the footy club. He should have done that. Ollie Wines, toot, 544k, break even of 37. This is the most expensive Ollie Wines has been since 2021. No, because as soon as Connor Rozee comes back, then it's the Rozee and Butters show. So, Jordan Sweet, 244k, break even of negative 71. Yes, please. And all right, I've seen a bit of Pickles chat tonight, but Jason Horn Francis, the type of bloke that gets blind drunk, goes home and pisses on mum's carpet. 500k, break even of 73. It'll be interesting to see the splits of forward time that he gets because he has been close, but then Rozee last week, his mid time went up and his forward time went down. So he was sitting at 29% forward. I haven't seen the percentages. I believe it's down to 27% now. So it's just a wait and see. But for those of you that have him, you'll be hoping with bated breath that he plays a lot more forward in the coming weeks. Are you an owner, Joe?
I'm not an owner. I wasn't entirely sure if he was going to get the forward status. He only had 55% centre balance attendances on the weekend. So will be interesting to see how it plays out. If he gets the forward status, I probably will have to trade him in, I think.
Yeah. Phil?
Not an owner, and I think I said in the chat of a very early episode this season, until they start awarding Supercoach points for running away from a contest, I will not own Jason Horne-Francis.
Yeah, he's a shit watch, isn't he?
Love it.
Oh. As we saw last week, Jason Horne-Francis is the bloke that would stop at a green light, wait for it to turn orange, and then drive through to make sure everyone had to stop at the next red light. For the Hawks, Dylan Moore, 546k, break even of 95. For those of you that bought him in, don't be too concerned. He had a head knock last week. He was at 60 odd, I think it was, at half time. Went off, got some strapping around the noggin, finished on 70, 72 or 75 or whatever it was. I'm not too concerned by that. Lloyd Meek, 506k. He's genuinely turning into a nice ruckman for those that gambled on him. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I wish I did. I didn't go Meek. Congratulations to those who did. 506k, and he just continues to rise with a 57 this week. Going to be up against Jordan Sweet, which will be a really interesting matchup. Meek's been leaking points. Whilst he's been scoring well himself, opposition rucks have also been scoring well. So fingers crossed Sweet can give us a sweet score.
Absolutely. John Newcomb, 497k, break even of 52. I don't trust his Supercoach game at all. The only 2 games that he's scored well in have been heavy stoppage games where he can utilise his strength and size on the inside. This is one I'm watching. Will Day. So he's at 500K, returning from injury. He's just getting his legs back. Break even of 138. If he gets down to his 450 to 440K, I'm definitely interested. Phil, did you have him last year?
Will Day? No. I dabbled with John Newcomb last year, and
Okay.
I've been sort of, he's been on my watch list for a while, and I don't know whether it's too early to give up on him being relevant this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the signs aren't great.
Yep. Joe?
I like him. I'm keeping an eye on him. I did own him last year.
Yeah.
He's building into the season, and he's getting
Definitely.
quite a few centre bounces. I think he's averaging about 70% now in those last couple of weeks. So I'm keeping an eye on him. He's really important.
Absolutely. Now we'll rush through this next one because you do have another podcast to get to in 10 minutes, mate. So I want to get through this last game. In the last game, sorry, Skiddy, I have changed the name of this during the podcast, mate, because I thought of an absolute ripper, and someone's actually nailed it. So in the last game of the round, we have the Eagles versus Melbourne in the Danny Dean Laidley Cup. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Big baller brand.
Yes, he's absolutely nailed it. For the Eagles, I don't have Skiddy here. Elliot.
Ew.
Thank you, Philly. 602K, break even 125. We're going to have to keep an eye out to see whether he's named or not. If he's named, that helps Harley Reid. If he's not, it hinders Harley Reid. Joe, do you agree?
100%. I'm believing in Yo's return, which is why I'm holding on to Reid.
Yep. Jeremy McGovern, 519K, break even of 81. He's got some sore ribs, but I believe he is going to play. Harley Reid, 443K. I am a seller this week. I know, Joe, you're a holder. I just think as a rookie, break even of 134, selling Reid has allowed me to bring in Butters. So that's where we go there. You're holding, Joe.
I am. He's been given a rest a couple of weeks ago. His only reason why he hasn't been scoring is because he needs that Elliot Yeo type to feed him the ball, and then he can use the momentum from receiving the pill to then bust through tackles. If Yeo comes back, I anticipate we're going to see not some banana crazy scores from Harley Reid, but considering that they were finished really low on the ladder, the fixture isn't particularly tough for them to manage. The bye is also going to be coming up not too far away. So he's going to have those 2 rests come the halfway point of the season. Even if he loses me a bit of money this week, I think he'll give me a strong bounce back next week. And if he doesn't, then I'll just trade him out. He's already made over 200,000. So if I hold on to him a little bit longer, it's not like it's become a failed hold. I think he will still have enough money on him to be a successful trade out.
Phil?
Yeah, likely to sell, in part because I want to get Caleb Sarong into my midfield.
Gotcha. And for Corey saying that not correct, Danny Laidley didn't play for Melbourne. He played in the under-19s for Melbourne, mate. So I'll let you have that one because it's technically not AFL. So we'll go with the original pick, and it was the Cale Morton Cup. So for those
Which
of you
he got right.
He did get right after we changed it, yes. So for those of you that remember,
what's
Cale
the final
Morton,
tally for Corey?
I think he got 6 out of 9 tonight, but we'll have to check with him.
6 out of 9.
He went really nicely.
Question for Corey, and I'm going to keep an eye on the chat for this. Is 6 out of 9 enough to have to explain to your boss why you took 5 days of sick leave this week?
It is very Pickles type behaviour, Kizza. I apologise. We better get back into the Eagles because we've got to leave you to it, Joe. Tim Kelly, 498K, break even of 90. Selfish footballer, does not help the kids in Jinby and Reid out in the middle. Alex Witherden, 411K, break even of 23. Hate it. We're not picking him. Liam Duggan, 526K, break even of 106. I think you'll see Duggan take more kickouts this week. Witherden is up and down. 6 out of 9 gets a prize pack, I reckon. Ian, we don't reward mediocrity here, mate. Sorry, brother. For Melbourne, Maxi Gawn. It'll be a bold play to put the C on him towards the back end of the round, hey, Joe?
Yeah, but is there any better way? I don't own Max Gorn, so it sucks. But for everybody who does, there's no better way to end the week on a high than with a Max Gorn 200, mate. Like, come on. You just got or 175 or something against BJ Blowjob Williams. He'll go bananas.
He will. He will. Christian Petracca, I'd love to see some more forward time out of him and potentially get him as a DPP down the track, but I'm not that interested yet, given that it could be up and down for him. Although I am interested in this next bloke, Clayton Oliver. He could have an absolute field day against a smaller West Coast midfield. Yep. Phil?
Yep, at your encouragement, Horse, I bought Clary in last week, so I'm well and truly in support of that take.
Yep. Proppies May, he's not a top 6 back, but he does have kickouts now. Blake Howes, if you've got him, it's time to sell unless you need that back cover. And Caleb Windsor's sort of come back around the last couple of weeks. He's got a lower break even. And if you've got him, you're probably holding him for at least one more week. Joe, before we get into our buy, sell, holds, we're going to say thank you for tonight, mate. You've got a podcast in about 3 minutes' time. So on behalf of the Insight Fantasy Sports crew, thank you for donating your time. It's been nice to have you on here for your first go. We will have you back. And also, thanks to the guys at the Standard Squeeze, mate, we're going to send a prize pack your way thanks to them. So from us to you, mate, thank you very much, and we hope to have you back on soon.
Mate, thank you so much for having me on, Mick. Phil, it's an absolute pleasure. We're very happy to have finally popped the cherry and got on. Skiddy, hope you get well, brother. Hope that Rona goes away real quick. Much love also in the chat. Cheers, guys, for having me on. And you really didn't have to send that prize pack my way. You could absolutely send it to Corey. That 6 out of 9 is pretty damn impressive. A dinner
That's
for
not
2.
bad, is it?
I reckon that prize pack deserves it.
Yeah. So we're formally saying that Corey's getting your prize pack?
Yeah, Corey can have my prize pack. I'm going to see him on Sunday, so I'd much rather be in his good books when he doesn't punch me in the guts on Sunday. So give it to Causa. It's all good.
He's a North Melbourne supporter, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah. Suck it.
I'll tell you what. Pickles is the sort of bloke who would receive another bloke's prize pack and punch him in the guts anyway.
Yes. No, that's good, mate. All right. Thanks, Joe.
See you guys. Have a lovely one.
You too, mate. All right. So
what a top bloke.
He's a ripper bloke. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Phil and I, and we're going to go through the buy, hold, and sell for round 10.
Targets acquired.
Now, there's quite a few on our list, Phil. And we're going to start off with the Adelaide Trio. We said before that there's a bit of a job share, mate, but with Laird, Dawson, and Rankin, Dawson's last 2 games against Collingwood, he averages 149.5. Rankin is currently ranked top 5 as a forward. If you had to pick out of these 3, mate, who would you bring in?
Dawson. Without any thought of the other 2. I love Jordan Dawson as a player.
Yep, absolutely. Tommy Green from GWS, I still think he's a buy. He's got a high break even, but could go large this week, and he's quite cheap. And next week will be as cheap as you're ever going to see Tom Green. LDU, I see someone in the chat banging in that they believe LDU is going to go nuts. I want to bring that up. Janko Stoyanovicki. I definitely got that wrong, but Janko, you're predicting LDU to go nuts. I hope he does, mate, against a Essendon midfield that is a little bit smaller, but is a little bit harder at it this year. He could go well, mate. Ed Richards from Western Bulldogs. This is a sneaky left field pick. If you've got agates bigger than mine, I'm not brave enough to bring him in. But Phil, you could definitely do worse in the role that he's been playing in place of Libba.
Yeah, look, you could do worse, and I understand he is in Libba's role. I'm probably a bit on your side with that one, though, Horse. I don't really like it that much either.
Yep. Clary, definite bring in this week if you're going to bring him in. If not, next week he's still under 500k. And against a West Coast midfield that is pretty ordinary, he could go mega large. Zach Merritt and Nick Martin are still buys for me, especially Merritt. For Law, if you've got the nuts again to bring him in, he is an elite level mid. I just like Zorko. I don't trust the pig strings. Tingles, I think this is about as cheap as we're ever going to see him as well. He's a grade A ruckman. And we heard it from Joe as well. I've got the same two in my rucks, Maxi Gorn and English. Bontempelli is quite cheap as well, mate. Have you got Bont?
Started with Bont, and I don't like the fact that he's this cheap now. But
Neither.
He's one of the classiest players in the competition. So he's going to come good any second now.
Yep. Daily Bale from the Western Bulldogs, he's still really nice and a 90s break even. He's solidified his role across half back. Garcia from the Dogs too. I think he's still a buy, but yeah, Waitman's still probably 3 or 4 weeks away, depending on how much coin you've got to blow. Dane Zorko, potentially going to be the biggest bought-in player this week with such a low break-even and the Supercoach friendly role that he has. I still can't bring myself to bring him in. Phil?
No way. Can't do it.
Jack Crisp, I think he's a buy while we see the likes of DeGoey and Tom Mitchell out of the side. He's been really good of late. Matt Rao, as our man Skiddy would say. He's probably got a little bit more cash to burn, but I think he's going to be a top 8 mid by season's end. And Tuk Miller, he's very good, just north of 600K. I think he's quite an elite level midfielder as well. The Diddley, Sam Flanders, he is number 2, I guess. Isaac Heaney's number 1. But they're, F1 and F2 right there for the year. And I've put in, much to my disgust, Zach Fisher. If you've got the agates to bring him in, I don't think that he's going to go mega large like last week, but he's got a negative 16 break even. So you could, if you've got the trades to burn, bring him in, make 100K out of him, and then go sideways into a primo. Would you do that?
I mean, it's just not for me. I'll tell you, the first thing I saw out of the game, the North Melbourne game last week when I flicked it on, was Fisher kicking it out on the full from a kick in. And to me, that just sort of sums the bloke up. It's like, there's no trust factor with him.
No, there's not, is there? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for our buys. We're now going to get cracking with our sells as soon as I find it. I'm still rolling with this bloke. I know he's been scoring not too bad, but Matt Crouch, you are the worst Supercoach player in the AFL. You give your team nothing. You always go backwards. Get out. Phil, are you an owner?
I'm not, and I never will be.
Smart man. I definitely didn't give you enough credit. Zach Williams, perhaps being the hardest watch in Supercoach. He's a definite sell. Harvey Thomas from GWS, you selling, Phil?
I don't know if I think I've probably got more pressing issues, but he's definitely a sell. As much as I could see, he's one that could have a bit of a bounce back this week, but overall, definitely a sell.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Our reigning cone of the week, Cadman.
Get that garbage out of here!
Jacob Weir, you're a hold for Weir, but I'm a definite sell. The Boner, if you haven't gotten rid of him yet, you are letting him go nicely. Even at 425K, I do not trust his role and his ability to score top 6, top 8. You can trade into somebody else. Dempsey from Geelong, Acidoxian. He has a nice role. He's on the wing. He's just not given us the Supercoach scoring depth that we need. See ya, mate. Brown and Campbell, they're both out of here, mate, from the Richmond Footy Club.
Get that garbage out of here!
The Bukaki Party, Buku Kamas from Western Bulldogs. I can't see him being Supercoach relevant anymore. He's made his cash for those of you that held on to him.
Get that garbage out of here!
And one that hurts me as an Essendon supporter, Sammy Draper, he's gone in for knee surgery. If you took the gamble on the mid-forward 300K option out of a ruckman,
Get that garbage out of here!
he's absolutely done. He won't be back till probably round 19, I'm guessing now. All right. We're getting stuck into our holds and who we think you should hold this week. And to start us off with, mate, Have you been watching Mitch Hinge from Adelaide?
I have, yeah.
Yep. For those of you that brought him in, he's got a nice role. And with Worrell out now, I only think this is going to heighten his Supercoach scoring ability.
Yeah, he's absolutely a hold, and I'm kind of hoping. So I went a bit left field out of that Adelaide backline. I brought in Keane not long ago, just as a bit of a pod. So I'm almost hoping that Worrell being out, even though they're not the same sort of player, I'm hoping there's a little bit of a flow-on bounce for Keane, but I'm just being very optimistic because he's been sitting there. He's been the third guy to trade out every week for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach Butters and Connor Rozee. It seems silly that I'm putting Butters in the hold section, but some people are asking whether you still hold him. You absolutely hold him. And if you've got him, you're holding on to him for the year. Burgoyne, if you got him for a reason. He was out last week. Wait another week to see whether he gets picked or not, and then we can potentially look to sell him. Walsh has a higher break even, but his average or career average against the Swans is the best against any team in the AFL and could score really well this week. I don't see anyone from Sydney having the running capacity to be able to keep up with him. Phil, would you agree?
Within the role that he plays, if he plays a little bit sort of more on the outside, him and Errol would be an interesting matchup. But I think they're going to play Walsh a bit closer to the ball. So yeah, I think he's. I'm a Walsh owner, and that's sort of where I'm hedging my bets. Obviously, big Swans man, but wouldn't mind seeing a big score out of Sammy Walsh.
Who do you think Jordan goes to?
I think that's an amazing question. I honestly, nothing coming off the top of my head about who he might go to there. There isn't a really obvious choice that I can think of.
Okay.
Who do you have him going to?
I got no idea. I can't think of anyone at Carlton because they've got bloody injuries going everywhere.
I think the thing with Carlton is that you think their forward line, you automatically think Curnow and Mackay, and I'm just not sure who the small is or the mid-size is, particularly if Jack Martin's injured.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a bit of a tricky.
It is. We'll have to. For those of you that are in the Discord, we will do some research and get back to you on that one. You're holding Grundy if you've got him. He's been much better after his bye. Global, nice of you to join us, mate. He may go to Nick Newman.
That is actually Global. That is a fantastic.
That's a good shout. Absolutely. Thank you for that, mate. Matty Roberts, I think he's a sell. He's not a hold. I think he's a sell now. Phil, do you think he even plays this week?
I think gun to my head, he plays this week, but it won't surprise me if he does get a rest. The thing that concerned me last week with Matty Roberts is he was wandering up the wing a bit more, and not in a way of being like, oh, he looked dangerous wandering up the wing. It was more that his role looked less defined. And I think that's in direct correlation to Jake Lloyd having a throwback game almost. So it might be time for Matty Roberts to have a bit of a spell, and that would make him a sell, definitely.
Your research is to see exactly what's going on with Jake Lloyd and see whether he's getting that permanent halfback role again. And if you can get any word on that happening, I think he's at 437K at the moment. He might be nice to bring in.
Well, in general, just on Jake Lloyd, in general terms, we do know that we're looking to lessen our reliance on him. He's very much been our cornerstone over the last handful of seasons.
Yes.
We are looking to sort of spread that load around. So I don't think the kind of game that he's just come off, he's not going to do that every week or every other week.
No.
But he's going to pull out another 3-4 of those throughout the year.
Okay.
It's just a matter of whether or not it costs Matty Roberts a regular spot.
Gotcha. She's God, I'm holding, could go large this week. The Condom, Charlie Coombin, holding on to him. You're holding McKercher even though he's not playing. Just wait and see on him. Darcy Wilson, got plenty of money to make. He's still got a 3 break even of all things. Riley Garcia and Hugo Garcia, they're both holds. Jackson from Freo, you're still holding him as the number 1 ruck and the only ruck that they're going to run with. Hayden Young had a down week last week, but he still gets a CBA, still gets the tackles. You're holding. Fife is live. I know he's got a high break even, but I am holding him this week. Jordan Clark, he was tagged really well last week. All Freo players were pretty off their game, so I'm holding there. If you've got Lafau, our man from across the ditch who's playing at Richmond, I love the way this bloke goes about it, and I will not speak a bad word ever.
Yeah.
Sam Darcy, if you got him, you're holding him. Lloyd Meek turning into a sneaky, nice ruckman as well, mate. Graham from Gold Coast, he's not playing this week, but you're holding. He still has a low break even. And Sam Clossy has been named. He will be playing and he will make us extra cash this week. From Global, mate, is Blakey injured or is he all good?
I was just going to say that Global, unless there's news that's broken like since this pod started, no, that's not what I'm hearing at all.
Yeah, good, mate. And you'll hear it from Phil first if anything goes on, being all ears to the ground, all things at Sydney and GWS. Mate, captain's choices.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Mate, tell me in your words, okay, because our notes that we have here, I haven't updated appropriately. Who are you running with your VC and C options this week?
Haven't determined my VC yet, but it's very hard to go past a late round Max Gawn masterclass against West Coast.
Unbelievable, isn't it? So I'm personally looking at a VC on Dacos against Adelaide at the MCG. I'm also toying with the idea of going Zach Merritt against North Melbourne. But the only thing that's stopping me from putting the VC or the C, on Gawn is that his last 3 games against West Coast have been poor. In fact, to the point where he's averaging less than 90 in his last 3 against West Coast. But we all know that Maxi can go off at any stage. So it's going to be a hard fade for me. I still think he'll be one of the top scorers of the round. But it's going to be a toss-up between the VC is definitely going to be on Dacos. It's either the C's either going to be on someone like Zach Merritt, I think, against North Melbourne, or we could, if I'm quick enough to put the C on, Tim English against GWS could go really large as well. Or I don't have Luke Ryan, but Luke Ryan against Fremantle would be bloody against St Kilda, who give up the most amount of points to halfback flankers. He'd be a really good shout too.
Yeah. Well, I don't own Zach Merritt, so I'll probably join you in the VC Dacos club.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I'll stick with Maxi with as captain. I mean, with those recent numbers, maybe not great, but part of me is like, well, that means he's due for 160.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We're finished with captain's time. It's now question time.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
There is a lot of questions in here, so I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I will get to all of them. So let's start off with, I'm struggling to get to the top. Let's start off with a Pickles joke. Pickles is the kind of bloke that buys 10 tickets to Magic Round and miraculously cannot make it, so he sells the tickets at 3 times the original price. Typical flog type behaviour, isn't it? Deadly, lads, how are we? Watching from the comfort of a bench in the middle of Brisbane. Jeez, that sounds terrible. Deadly is up there at Magic Round, and boy, is he rubbing it in. Pickles is the kind of bloke to get sick on a massive podcast set for 7:30. Just kidding, Skiddy. Get well, brother. Yeah, everyone, mate. Everyone's sending their well wishes to you, mate. Hopefully you get better soon. Armoured Frog. Pickles is the kind of bloke to turn up to the footy function last Friday, knowingly with COVID, and decimate the club's players and volunteers with a spicy cough ahead of this week's game. That sucks. No doubt it's probably happened. Armoured Frog as well. Joe should be missing the cap. Lids off at Windy Hill. It definitely is. Hey, Phil, is D'Lo the worst starting PG in the league?
I will die on that hill. Yes, he is.
I like this left field pick for the top scorer of the week. Corey Blackledge, Josh Dunkley, 175. And for those of you playing at home, Luke Ryan and Zorko over 35 touches at $19. That's nice. I haven't touched on our punters club yet, but for those of you that are interested in getting involved in our punting scene, we have a punting page on our Discord. We do remind people to only gamble what you can afford to lose, and we always gamble responsibly. So we do have a section there where we share each other's bets, and we're cheering each other on most of the time, aren't we, mate?
We are. And look, Kizza absolutely flying with the multis.
He is. Kizza, Nathan Ablett, premiership full forward. He absolutely is. And Deadly's got beef with Skiddy. I think because he didn't pick the right one there. Pickles is the kind of bloke to stitch us up with the cups so no one gets it to win a $70 prize pack. Weakest piss, be better. You're absolutely right. Kim Viant, evening, gents. How many pods you done this week? Yeah, he's racking them up. He's a bloody ripper bloke. I missed that one. The David Rees-Jones Cup. That would have been a good one. Scorched Earth, no Graham or Rogers. No, both have been dropped this week and neither will be playing. Riley Garcia is a better pick at this time. You're absolutely right. Pickles is the kind of bloke to give a podcast host COVID so he can sneak in and talk up the Swans.
I'm not responding to those allegations. However, you know what they say about never having a day off in media.
Pitternet is out, I thought, this week with an injury. Oh, geez, I haven't heard that. Have you heard that, Phil?
No, that's news to me.
Yeah, I might just do some quick research and send a couple of texts.
I don't hate it if it's true.
Yeah. Jackson Brewer, thanks for joining us, mate. McKercher is injured. He absolutely is and will be missing this week. Skiddy, our boy, our man. How many people did I piss off with the Nathan Ablett Cup? Smiley face. I love
Plenty.
Geez, there's so much to go through here. Zorko might be a half-decent option to finish off the forward line. What must be what Horse was getting at in the Discord. Yes, it is, mate. I'd read yours out, Jonas Goat, but I've got to try and keep it semi-PG related, so I'm going to leave that one there. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Skiddy beat Bont in a grand final back in the day? Skiddy, if you're still in the chat, let us know. And Jonas, Matt Owies was a basketballer. It was good fun rejecting that short fella.
Nice.
Who takes Lockie Ash's role? Do they move Haynes back from a wing? Phil, what do you reckon?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. And this, again, we could be looking at potentially Xavier O'Halloran, but I think the big beneficiary from Ash being out, even though he's not so much a run and carry or it doesn't have the speed, but it could mean a bit of extra involvement for a Harry Himmelberg.
Oh, good call. Real good call. Wilson is the pot at the end of the Supercoach Rainbow. Yes, he is. I've been playing him on field the last couple of weeks and loving it.
Yep, me too.
Fade Ryan, which is Fade Ryan. Fade Ryan. Yeah. Hey, boys. Thanks, Kev. Garcia from St Kilda or Dempsey on field? Phil?
Oh, I've traded out Dempsey. Probably Dempsey by a flared nostril, though.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Pickles is the type of bloke that still wets the bed. Absolutely right. Jonas, Sinclair can't find enough of the ball in the midfield. Looks lost in defence as the distributor. He's a top 6, but the role is not there. Avoid for now. You know what, mate? I 100% agree with you. Jonas, This is the second week you brought it up, but I love it. Who thinks Horse's real father is Gary Lyon? There is a story that I don't mind sharing. So a few years ago, I was a senior playing coach here at a local club in Bendigo. And I was leading out for the ball from full forward. And as I went down to pick up the ball, my hamstring tendons snapped from both of them, snapped from the top of my hamstring that connect the hamstring to the glute. And part of my hamstring reclapsed or fell back behind my knee. So it was mega, mega painful. So I've dropped to the ground and sort of crawled myself up off the ground. And I'm waving my arms and someone's come across and they're like, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking can't feel much in my leg. And the lady, who was an elderly lady at the time, who was trainer of the footy club, was like, Did you hit your head on the way down? I'm like, oh, fucked if I know. My leg's so fucking sore. So this lady, in her infinite wisdom, put me in a neck brace because she thought I hit my head on the way down. So as I got stretched off, I'm in a neck brace for a fucking hamstring injury. So, yes, there is a lot about Gary Lyon on a stretcher and the horse on a hamstring.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that story. Anyway, Ian, my DM's are always open, lads. Reach out. It is okay to not be okay. I could not agree more, mate. Same with me and same with Phil.
Yeah.
Fair point. Flagged ons. Has anyone ever seen Corey Blackledge and Skiddy in the same room? After the way he's been guessing them tonight.
Tell you what, I've heard worse conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Statue for Sam Durham at the hangar should already be one erect, mate. Absolutely. There's a lot of love for Sammy Durham in the chat. Odd third wheel does her. So would I. Durham is dead set great to watch, in my opinion. Not a Bombers man, but I like the way he goes about it. He is so hard at the ball, mate. And he is not single-handedly, but he is one of the main contributors to the way Essendon are playing at the moment. My North fan's son is going to the game. I refuse to go. And if that's your boy that's doing really well at Supercoach, hopefully Essendon win, and I hope you've let him back in the house.
We're not gonna get a better chance to do this, Horse. Ian, weak as piss, be better.
Yeah, good from you, Phil. You need to say it with more vigor, though. McGrath started the season terribly, was the turnover king, ran himself into trouble like a less transparent Nick Hind. He has been good lately. You're absolutely right. Oh, Ahmed Frog. If you teach Dersma to kick less high floaty kicks, he could really elevate. Yeah, he absolutely could, mate. Nick Hind revenge tour has kicked off, ripping that cone off his head on the weekend. He definitely did, didn't he, LeVar? He was good. Ahmed Frog, I said in the Discord, 2 metre Peter is so important to the structure of a side when coming out of defence or centre wing or going inside, straightens the whole side right up. He absolutely does. And for those of you that were having a bit of a laugh about Orazio Fantasia, he is the list clogger of the century. And Jonas, the Carlton supporter himself, Fantasia is the worst player in the comp, never to be seen again. LeVar, Zardes kicking lets him down. Yeah, it absolutely does. Chris Davis, is Zach Reid playing this week? I would say at a stretch, maybe, but more potentially next week. They might try and get a game or two into him before the bye and then give him a rest and then bring him back in again. McKercher, how long? How long's a piece of string, Ian? Not sure. Could be this week, could be 3 weeks, could be 6 weeks. If they're talking Liz Frank injury, that's a 6 to 8er. If they're talking about just a management this week, that's a 1 week. Like, we don't know. So once we know more, we will let the people know in our Discord. Bombers will be cautious with Reid, I reckon. Could play some light time in the VFL before he comes back in. You would think so, LeVar, but last week he played nearly 90% game time on field, 26 touches, 10 marks, and was one of, if not the best player on the ground. Ahmed Frog as well. Foot injuries are bad news. Yes, they are. And North Melbourne have nothing to play for this year, do they, Phil?
No.
Yeah, Ridley is close to being in as well. LeVar again. Laverde is poo emoji. To the shadow realm once Reid and Ridley come back. Hopefully it was actually good against GWS. Cadman made Laverde look like a king. You don't do that. Weeger's pissed. Be better. Ian, as a North supporter, LGU is the most frustrating play to watch.
Is he?
No, there's worse. There's definitely worse. He's better back there nowadays. Nobody's pushing him out except for that spot, except Kane Corns. I forget who we're talking about there. Sheezer will be midfield through, though, in future if North Melbourne are going to be any good. Could see Clarko keeping Sheez in the mid-high forward. I hope not. I hope he goes back, but you're probably right, mate.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that. I mean, in terms of long term, yeah, he's
Longevity,
he's absolutely midfield long term, but he's so good in that half-back role. I don't understand why you'd force him into a high half forward rather than I don't know.
I get the delivery of the football into the forward line, but this week could get ugly. And I'm not just saying that as an Essendon supporter. I think that they're lacking a bit. And I think Sheezel across halfback makes sense. they're probably not going to win the game. Like, you can never say never, but damage control and just having Sheasel back there just shores them right up.
I'm just going to call out Corey for, we were sort of saying most frustrating North player to watch, and Corey said most frustrating player for North has to be Stevenson, and I'm going to dispute that because I'm not sure Jaden Stevenson is an AFL player.
He's shit house, isn't he? Interesting thing being a Port fan, Butters and Rosie feed each other. Absolutely, they do. They love playing with each other. I'm as surprised as you that we've got a Port Adelaide supporter in the chat. So, Ahmed Frog, I salute you. Pickles is the kind of bloke that goes back to mum's place and messes it up and leaves again. Shit bloke. Yep, you're selling Massimo D'Ambrosio. You are selling him pizza, pasta, wine, Ferrari. He's gone. See you later. Bye-bye. Catch a taxi, Uber, whatever. Bye. Cheerio. See ya. Ciao. Ciao. Jesus, there's a bit going on here. Junko is predicting LDU to go nuts. Kizza, Gorn probably rest forward and kick 5. Mate, that's not a bad shout for the Mulchkies this week. I reckon he could kick 3 or 4. Pickles is the kind of bloke who hires Sloppy Joe as his lawyer to get out of a charge of salivating at the end of Will Sitterfield's bed. Oh.
Jeez.
That's right.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that visual, Jonas. To get out.
Yeah, I don't like that one. And if the ladies are vegetarian and don't want the big ham, calls us. Oh no, we're not saying that either. Let's get rid of that. LDU has checked out. Think it's already free agency. Maybe. I'll let you answer this one, mate. Is Flanders a buy?
Well, it's tempting. He's a bit pricey though. What was? Do we have his break even on hand?
Nah, but you'd buy him.
Yeah,
you just got to get him in. English could be a shout for a massive game. Briggs leaks points to lesser rucks, and Tingles just needs to hit out to advantage to score large. Spot on, Chris. He got robbed with scaling last week. Could have easily scored 120, 130 against Nank. I'm picking him to go pretty big this week too. Not owning Zorko is going to be painful. I am on that train with you, mate. Yanko, isn't Yell out for 5 weeks? Deep groin injury, WA radio. That is huge. Huge news. If that is correct, I will contact my mates that I have in Perth that give me the news. Or if you're still in the chat, Yanko, when was this on radio? Can you please confirm with us? Because if that's correct and people are deciding whether to trade Harley Reid or Nate Fife, that could potentially swing their decision there. Ahmed Frog, is Fife out? He's playing, and he's not out for me. He's staying in my side.
Yep, mine too.
Munda Difflin, I love this name. Would you trade Fife in order to get a Zorko or similar player? Phil?
Not to get Zorko, but I wouldn't rule it out for a similar player. I just don't trust Zorko's body.
Rankin?
Oh, maybe. There's something that sets off an alarm in my head about Isaac Rankin. But Rankin over Zorko.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm looking at my son's side. He's got Massimo D'Ambrosio, Anderson, Fife, and Reid all having cases for trimming. No boosts left. That sucks. If I had to pick 2, mate, I'm getting rid of, and it's probably Noah Anderson, but I am. If Yo's out for 5 weeks, I'm trimming Massimo and Reid this week.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Ian Johnson would love to see Leek Ryan versus Freo. Could go off. Yeah, I fucked up, mate. Sorry. Chris Davis, Tingles is the call. Inglesio, there's a lot happening in the chat for Tim English. Worth using my last boost to bring in Track, Zorko, and Fisher, trading out Exjuri, Massimo, and Hull. Whoa.
What do you think about that, Horse? I don't. The last boost, I don't like that.
I've only looked at it for 10 seconds. I don't mind it because if Fisher can make you 130k and you can trade up into a primo, then yes. Because Exjuri, Mass, or Harley Reid aren't. Lavar, I would do that if you've got Sweet to use as your R2 and hope that he plays. Track and Zorko. Yeah, I don't mind it. But Track, I'm not overly sure that he's a top 8 midfielder this year at the moment.
I'm just not sure that any of the three that he's bringing in are
I can see a case for Zorko.
Locks to be there at the end of the year.
Yep. Is Graham going to come straight back in after his rest? Your guess is as good as mine, Chris, but Dimmer loves him and his attack on the football on the inside. So if I had to give you an answer now, I'd say yes. Pitnet had finger surgery in doubt this week. Well, there you go. I haven't heard that one, Phil, but he did have a sore finger last week. So that's good. Arson Dragon, go the Swans. Is he another Swanee supporter, Phil?
Good boy. Yeah, he's a good Sydney boy, Arson Dragon.
Yeah. Oh, they're having a piss take about me on the stretcher. HIA for horse, 11-day stand down.
Oh, it's a belter of a story.
Oh, I've got to rip a fucking scar from the surgeries too, I tell you. Razzle is the type of operator that counts bending down to get the footy out of the bag as a hard ball gets. That's how I used to count my stats too, mate. I reckon I'm going Reed and Fife to Zorko and Rankin this week. I would, Corey. I don't have the agates to go Zorko, as I said previously, but I think it could really pay off for you, mate. Most frustrating player has to be, Aiden Core is probably up there, mate. Ambarosio to catch the orla. Bye. So, yeah. Oh, Flanders' break even is 99, so he's probably going to beat that.
Thanks for that, Ian.
I love the stats of AFL and obscure players who play for two different clubs. That's why I'm good at the footy grid, as I did stats for the AFL for last season. Oh, that's good to know, Corey. We'll definitely dig into you. Horse, you missed your chance to palm off the Massimo D'Ambrosio to Joe. I did. Oh,
no.
Joe had to go. Back. Yeah, we'll have to get him back. Absolutely. Pickles is the kind of bloke to take his hat off mid-pod when it's a only hat potty. You're absolutely right, Ian, especially a hat indoors. That's how we do it here at the Insight Fantasy Sports team. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it for question time. So before we finish, I've got a couple of things that we'll run through. But before we get into our last ad read for the evening, we did say last week that we're going to go through or bring awareness to mental health, not just 1 week, but for the rest of the season. So we're just going to touch on that. It is okay not to be okay. And if you want to reach out or need to reach out, my inbox is open. Phil's is open. Anyone at the Insight Fantasy Sports team, anyone in the Discord. We have a really good bunch of people. If you are struggling, please reach out. We would rather spend half an hour talking to you now than an hour at a meeting in other ways. So it is okay not to be okay, and it is not weak to speak. Now, before we go, Phil, have you got anything to say?
No, look, I think that's a beautiful way to finish, Horse. Again, pleasure to be here. Always ready to go off the bench at a moment's notice. We hope that Skiddy cops the lighter end of his COVID experience. But we'll look forward to having the Skiddy segues back at a pod soon. But yeah, always a pleasure to be on with you good self, Horse.
No, awesome, mate. Love having you here. Before we do go, we've got our Inside Apparel giveaway. So jump on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5-star reviews on there. If you want multiple entries, go to AFL, NRL, NBA, NBL, and BBL. We will be drawing a winner tomorrow night before the footy kicks off. So if you want a chance to win some cool gear, you can win it. Thanks to the guys here at Insight Fantasy Sports. And the online shop is down below, in the description. So you can have a look and see what you'd like, and we'll send it out to you. Phil, it's been a pleasure. You are Phil Unfiltered. We can find you on X. Look at that. We've got a little thumbs up on the little bubble. That's pretty cool. We can find you on X at Unphil Unfiltered. I am the Horse SC. I've undergone a little name change. You can find me on Twitter there, in the Discord. Let's try and get our Discord to 1,000 members this weekend. It would be lovely to see it. But for now, you are Phil. I'm the Horse. And this has been another episode of the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast. we'll see you next week.
See ya.